Part 1. Becoming conscious. When we expand our thinking and beliefs, our love flows freely. When we contract, we shut ourselves off. Chapter 1. The Power Within. The more you connect to the power within you, the more you can be free in all areas of your life. Who are you? Why are you here? What are your beliefs about youth? For thousands of years, finding the answers to these questions has meant going within. But what does that mean? I believe there is a power within each of us that can lovingly direct us to our perfect health, perfect relationships, perfect careers, and which can bring us prosperity of every kind. In order to have these things, we have to believe first that they are possible. Next, we must be willing to release the patterns in our lives that are creating conditions we say we do not want. We do this by going within and tapping the inner power that already knows what is best for us. If we are willing to turn our lives over to this greater power within us, the power that loves and sustains us, we can create more loving and prosperous lives. I believe that our minds are always connected to the one infinite mind, and therefore, all knowledge and wisdom is available to us at any time. We are connected to, for the power is within you. This infinite mind, this universal power that created us, through that spark of light within, our higher self, or the power within. The universal power loves all of its creations. It is a power for good, and it directs everything in our lives. It doesn't know how to hate or lie or punish. It is pure love, freedom, understanding, and compassion. It is important to turn our lives over to our higher self, because through it we receive our good. We must understand that we have the choice to use this power in any way. If we choose to live in the past and rehash all of the negative situations and conditions that went on way back when, then we stay stuck where we are. If we make a conscious decision not to be victims of the past and go about creating new lives for ourselves, we are supported by this power within, and new, happier experiences begin to unfold. I don't believe in two powers. I think there is one infinite spirit. It's all too easy to say. It's the devil or them. It really is only us, and either we use the power we have wisely, or we misuse the power. Do we have the devil in our hearts? Do we condemn others for being different than we are? What are we choosing? Responsibility versus blame. I also believe that we contribute toward the creation of every condition in our lives, good or bad, with our feeling patterns. The thoughts we think create our feelings, and we then begin to live our lives in accordance with these feelings and beliefs. This is not to blame ourselves for things going wrong in our lives. There is the power within 5. Difference between being responsible and blaming ourselves or others. When I talk about responsibility, I am really talking about having power. Blame is about giving away one's power. Responsibility gives us the power to make changes in our lives. If we play the victim role, then we are using our personal power to be helpless. If we decide to accept responsibility, then we don't waste time blaming somebody or something out there. Some people feel guilty for creating illness, or poverty, or problems. They choose to interpret responsibility as guilt. Some members of the media like to refer to it as New Age guilt. These people feel guilty because they believe that they have failed in some way. However, they usually accept everything as a guilt trip in one way or another, because it's another way to make themselves wrong. That is not what I'm talking about. If we can use our problems and illnesses as opportunities to think about how we can change our lives, we have power. Many people who come through catastrophic illness say that it was the most wonderful thing that ever happened to them, because it gave them a chance to go about their lives differently. A lot of people, on the other hand, go around saying, "I'm a victim, woe is me. Please, doctor, fix me." I think these people will have a difficult time even getting well or handling their problems. Responsibility is our ability to respond to a situation. We always have a choice. It does not mean that we deny who we are and what we have in our lives. It merely means that we can acknowledge that we have contributed to where we are. By taking responsibility, we have the power is within you. Power to change. We can say, what can I do to make this different? We need to understand that we all have personal power all the time. It depends on how we use it. Many of us are now realizing that we come from dysfunctional homes. We carry over a lot of negative feelings about who we are and our relationship to life. My childhood was filled with violence, including sexual abuse. I was */ed for love and affection, and had no self-esteem at all. Even after leaving home at the age of 15, I continued to experience abuse in many forms. I hadn't yet realized that the thinking, feeling patterns I had learned early in life had brought this abuse upon me. Children often respond to the mental atmosphere of the adults around them. So I learned early about fear and abuse, and continued to recreate those experiences for myself as I grew up. I sanely didn't understand that I had the power to change all of this. I was unmercifully hard on myself, because I interpreted lack of love and affection to mean I must be a bad person. All of the events you have experienced in your lifetime up to this moment have been created by your thoughts and beliefs from the past. Let's not look back on our halves with shame. Look at the past as pan of the richness and fullness of your life. Without this richness and fullness, we would not be here today. There is no reason to beat yourself up, because you didn't do better. You did the best you knew how. Release the past in love, and be grateful that it has brought you to this new awareness. The power within 7. The past only exists in our minds and in the way we choose to look at it in our minds. This is the moment we are living. This is the moment we are feeling. This is the moment we are experiencing. What we are doing right now is laying the groundwork for tomorrow. So this is the moment to make the decision. We can't do anything tomorrow, and we can't do it yesterday. We can only do it today. What is important is what we are choosing to think, believe, and say right now. When we begin to take conscious charge of our thoughts and words, then we have tools that we can use. I know this sounds simple, but remember, the point of power is always in the present moment. It is important for you to understand that your mind is not in control. You are in control of your mind. The higher self is in control. You can stop thinking those old thoughts. When your old thinking tries to come back and say, "It's so hard to change," take mental command. Say to your mind, "I now choose to believe it is becoming easy for me to make changes." You may have this conversation with your mind several times before it acknowledges that you are in charge, and that you really mean what you say. Imagine that your thoughts are like drops of water. One thought or one drop of water does not mean very much. As you repeat thoughts over and over, you first notice a stain on the carpet, then there is a little puddle, then a pond, and as these thoughts continue, they can become a lake, and finally an ocean. What kind of ocean are you? 8. The power is within you. Creating one that is polluted and toxic and unfit to swim in, or one that is crystal clear and blue and invites you to enjoy its refreshing waters. People often tell me, "I can't stop thinking a thought." I always reply, "Yes, you can." Remember, how often have you refused to think a positive thought? You just have to tell your mind that that is what you are going to do. You have to make up your mind to stop thinking negatively. I'm not saying that you have to fight your thoughts when you want to change things. When the negative thoughts come up, simply say, "Thank you for sharing." In that way, you are not denying what is there, and you are not giving your power over to the negative thought. Tell yourself that you are not going to buy into the negativity anymore. You want to create another way of thinking. Again, you don't have to fight your thoughts. Acknowledge and go beyond them. Don't drown in a sea of your own negativity, when you can float on the ocean of life. You are meant to be a wonderful, loving expression of life. Life is waiting for you to open up to it, to feel worthy of the good it holds for you. The wisdom and intelligence of the universe is yours to use. Life is here to support you. Trust the power within you to be there for you. If you get scared, it is helpful to become aware of your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Your breath, the most precious substance of your life, is freely given to. The power within 9. You. You have enough to last for as long as you live. You accept this precious substance without even thinking, and yet you doubt that life can supply you with the other necessities. Now is the time for you to learn about your own power and what you are capable of doing. Go within and find out who you are. We all have different opinions. You have a right to yours and I have a right to mine. No matter what goes on in the world, the only thing you can work on is what is right for you. You have to get in touch with your inner guidance because it is the wisdom that knows the answers for you. It's not easy to listen to yourself when your friends and family are telling you what to do. Yet, all the answers to all the questions you are ever going to ask are within you now. Every time you say, "I don't know," you shut the door to your own inner wisdom. The messages you get from your higher self are positive and supportive of you. If you start getting negative messages, then you are working from ego and your human mind level, and even perhaps your imagination, although positive messages often come to us through our imagination and our dreams. Support yourself by making the right choices for you. When in doubt, ask yourself, is this a decision that is love? ing for me? Is this right for me now? You may make another decision at some later point, a day, a week, or a month later. But ask yourself these questions in each moment. 10. The power is within you. As we learn to love ourselves and trust our higher power, we become co-creators with the infinite spirit of a loving world. Our love for ourselves moves us from being victims to being winners. Our love for ourselves attracts wonderful experiences to us. Have you ever noticed that people who feel good about themselves are naturally attractive? They usually have a quality about them that is just wonderful. They are happy with their lives. Things come to them easily and effortlessly. I learned a long time ago that I am a being of oneness with the presence and power of God. Knowing this, that the wisdom and understanding of spirit resides within me, and I am, therefore, divinely guided in all my dealings with others upon the planet. Just as all the stars and planets are in their perfect orbit, I am also in my divine right order. I may not understand everything with my limited human mind, however, on the cosmic level I know I am in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. My present experience is a stepping stone to new awareness and new opportunities. Who are you? What did you come here to learn? What did you come here to teach? We all have a unique purpose. We are more than our personalities, our problems, our fears, and our illnesses. We are far more than our bodies. We are all connected with everyone on the planet, and with all of life. We are all spirit, light, energy, vibration, and love, and we all have the power to live our lives with purpose and meaning. Chapter 2. Following MJ Inner Voice. The thoughts we choose to think are the tools we use to paint the canvas of our lives. I remember when I first heard that I could change my high if I was willing to change my thinking. It was quite a revolutionary idea to me. I lived in New York and discovered the Church of Religious Science. Often people confuse the Church of Religious Science, or Science of Mind, which was founded by Ernest Holmes, with the Christian Science Church founded by Mary Baker Eddy. They all reflect new thought, however, they are different philosophies. The Science of Mind has ministers and practitioners who carry on the teachings of the Church of Religious Science, the Church. They were the very first people who told me that my thoughts shaped my future. Even though I didn't understand what they meant, this concept touched what I call the inner ding within me, that place of intuition that is referred to as the voice within. Over the years, I've learned to follow it, because when that ding goes yes, even if it seems a crazy choice, I know that it's right for me. 11. 12. The power is within you. So these concepts struck a chord in me. Something said, yes, they are right. And then I began the adventure of learning how to change my thinking. Once I accepted the idea and said yes to it, I went through the house. I read a lot of books, and my home became like many of yours, filled with masses of spiritual and self-help books. I went to classes for many years, and I explored everything related to the subject. I literally immersed myself in New Thought philosophy. It was the first time that I had really studied in my life. Up until then, I didn't believe in anything. My mother was a lapsed Catholic, and my stepfather was an atheist. I had some strange idea that Christians either wore hair shirts or were eaten by lions, and neither appealed to me. I really delved into the science of mind, because that was an avenue that was open for me at the time, and I found it really wonderful. At first it was sort of easy. I grasped a few concepts, and I started to think and talk a little bit differently. In those days I was a constant complainer and full of self-pity. I just loved to wallow in the pits. I didn't know that I was continually perpetuating more experiences in which to pity myself. But then again, I didn't know any better in those days. Gradually, I found that I was no longer complaining quite so much. I started to listen to what I said. I became aware of my self-criticism, and I tried to stop it. I began to babble affirmations without quite knowing what they meant. I started with the easy ones, of course, and a few small. Following my inner voice 13. Changes began to take place. I got the green lights in the parking places, and boy, did I think I was hot stuff. Oh wow. I thought I knew it all, and I very soon became quite cocky and arrogant and dogmatic in my beliefs. I felt I knew all the answers. In hindsight, it was really my way of feeling safe in this new area. When we start to move away from some of our old rigid beliefs, especially if we've previously been in total control, it can be very scary. It was very frightening for me, so I would grasp onto whatever would make me feel safe. It was a beginning for me, and I still had a long way to go. And still do. Like most of us, I didn't always find the pathway easy and smooth, because just babbling affirmations didn't work all the time, and I couldn't understand why. I asked myself, what am I doing wrong? Immediately, I blamed myself. Was this one more example of me not being good enough? That was a favorite old belief of mine. At the time, my teacher, Eric Pace, would look at me and refer to the idea of resentment. I didn't have the faintest idea what he was talking about. Resentment? Me? Surely I didn't have any resentments. After all, I was on my pathway, I was spiritually perfect. How little I could see myself then. I continued doing the best I could in my life. I studied metaphysics and spirituality, and learned about myself as much as possible. I grasped what I could, and sometimes I applied it. Often, we hear a lot of things, and sometimes. 14. The power is within you. We grasp them, but we don't always practice them. Time seemed to go by very quickly, and at that point, I had been studying science of mind for about 3 years and had become a practitioner of the church. I began to teach the philosophy, but I wondered why my students seemed to be floundering. I couldn't understand why they were so stuck in their problems. I gave them so much good advice. Why weren't they using it and getting well? It never dawned on me that I was speaking the truth more than I was living it. I was like a parent who tells the child what to do, but then does exactly the opposite. Then one day, seemingly out of the blue, I was diagnosed with vaginal cancer. First, I panicked. Then, I had doubts that all this stuff I was learning was valid. It was a normal and natural reaction. I thought to myself, if I was clear and centered, I wouldn't have the need to create the illness. In hindsight, I think when I was diagnosed, I felt safe enough at that point to let the illness surface so that I could do something about it, rather than having it be another hidden secret that I wouldn't know about until I was dead. I knew too much by then to hide from myself any longer. I knew that cancer as a disease of resentment that is held for a long time until it eats away at the body. When we stifle our emotions inside of us, they have to go somewhere in the body. If we spend a lifetime stuffing things down, they will eventually manifest somewhere in the body. I became very aware that the resentment, which my teacher had referred to so many times, within me had to do with being physically, emotionally, and sexually abused as a child. Naturally, I would have resentment. I. Following my inner voice 15. Was bitter and unforgiving of the past. I had never done any work to change or release the bitterness and let it go. When I left home, it as all I could do to forget had happened to me. I thought I had put it behind me when in actuality I had simply buried it. When I found my metaphysical pathway, I covered up my feelings with a nice layer of spirituality and hid a lot of garbage inside me. I put a wall around myself that kept me literally out of touch with my own feelings. I didn't know who I was or where I was. After my diagnosis, the real inner work of learning to know myself began. Thank God, I had tools to use. I knew I needed to go within myself if I was going to make any permanent changes. Yes, the doctor could give me an operation and perhaps take care of my illness for the moment, but if I didn't change the way I was using my thoughts and my words, I'd probably recreate it again. It is always interesting to me to learn where in our body we put our cancers, on which side of the body are our tumors, the left or the right. The right side represents the masculine side, from where we give out. The left is the feminine side, the receptive part, from where we take in. Almost all of my life, when anything went wrong, it was always on the right side of my body. It was where I stored all the resentment toward my stepfather. I was no longer content to get green lights and parking places. I knew that I had to go much, much deeper. I realized that I was not really progressing in my life the way. 16. The power is within you. I wanted to because I hadn't really cleared out this old garbage from childhood, and I wasn't living what I was teaching. I had to recognize the inner child inside me and work with her. My inner child needed help because she was still in great pain. I quickly began a self-healing program in earnest. I concentrated on me totally, and did little else. I became very committed to getting well. Some of it was a little weird, yet I did it anyway. After all, this was my life on the line. It became almost a 24-hour-a-day job for the next 6 months. I began reading and studying everything I could find about alternative ways to heal cancer, because I truly believed it could be done. I did a nutritional cleansing program that detoxified my body from all the junk foods I had eaten for years. For months, I seemed to be living on sprouts and pureed asparagus. I know I had more to eat, but that is what I remember the most. I worked with my Science of Mind practitioner and teacher, Eric Pace, to clear the mental patterns so the cancer wouldn't return. I said affirmations and did visualizations and spiritual mind treatments. I did daily sessions in front of a mirror. The most difficult words to say were, "I love you, I really love you." It took a lot of tears and a lot of breathing to get through it. When I did, it was as if I took a quantum leap. I went to a good psychotherapist who was skilled in helping people express and release their anger. I spent a long period of time beating pillows and screaming. It was wonderful. It felt so good because I had never, ever had permission to do that in my life. I don't know which method worked, maybe a little bit. Following my inner voice 17. Of everything worked. Most of all, I was really consistent with what I did. I practiced during all my waking hours. I thanked myself before I went to sleep for what I had done during the day. I affirmed that my healing process was taking place in my body while I slept, and that I would awaken in the morning bright and refreshed and feeling good. In the morning, I'd awaken and thank myself and my body for the work during the night. I would affirm that I was willing to grow and learn each day and make changes without seeing myself as a bad person. I also worked on understanding and forgiveness. One of the ways was to explore my parents' childhoods as much as I could. I began to understand how they were treated as children, and I realized that because of the way they were brought up, they couldn't really have done anything differently than they did. My stepfather was abused at home, and he continued this abuse with his children. My mother was brought up to believe the man was always right, and you stood by and let him do what he wanted. No one taught them a different approach. It was their way of life. Step by step, my growing understand. Ing of them enabled me to start the forgiveness process. The more I forgave my parents, the more willing I was to forgive myself. Forgiveness of ourselves is enormously important. Many of us do the same damage to the inner child that our parents did to us. We just continue the abuse, and it's very sad. When we were children and other people mistreated us, we didn't have many options, but when we grow up and we still mistreat the inner child, it's disastrous. As I forgave myself, I began to trust myself. I found 18. The power is within you. That when we don't trust life or other people, it's really because we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our higher selves to take care of us in all situations, so we say, I'll never fall in love again, because I don't want to get hurt, or I'll never let this happen again. What we are really saying to ourselves is, I don't trust you enough to take good care of me, so I'm going to stay away from everything. Eventually, I began to trust myself enough to take care of me, and I found it easier and easier to love myself once I trusted myself. My body was healing, and my heart was healing. My spiritual growth had come in such an unexpected way. As a bonus, I began to look younger. The clients I now attracted were almost all people who were willing to work on themselves. They made enormous progress without me really saying anything. They could sense and feel that I was living the concepts I was teaching, and it was easy for them to accept these ideas. Of course, they had positive results. They began to improve the quality of their lives. Once we begin to make peace with ourselves on the inner level, life seems to flow much more pleasantly. So what did this experience teach me personally? I realized that I had the power to change my life if I was willing to change my thinking and release the patterns that kept me living in the past. This experience gave me the inner knowledge that if we are really willing to do the following my inner voice 19 work, we can make incredible changes in our minds, our bodies, and our lives. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you've contributed to creating, no matter what's happening, you are always doing the best you can with the understand ing and awareness and knowledge that you have. And when you know more, you will do it differently, as I did. Don't berate yourself for where you are. Don't blame yourself for not doing it faster or better. Say to yourself, I'm doing the best I can, and even though I'm in a pickle now, I will get out of it somehow, so let's find the best way to do it. If all you do is tell yourself that you're stupid and no good, then you stay stuck. You need your own loving support if you want to make changes. The methods I use are not my methods. Most of them I learned at Science of Mind, which is what I basically teach. Yet these principles are as old as time. If you read any of the old spiritual teachings, you will find the same messages. I am trained as a minister of the Church of Religious Science, however, I do not have a church. I am a free spirit. I express the teachings in simple language so that they reach many people. This path is a wonderful way of getting your head together and really understand what life is all about, and how you can use your mind to take charge of your life. When I started all this 20 or so years ago, I had no idea that I would be able to bring hope and help to the number of people that I do today. 1. Chapter 3. The power of your spoken word. Every day declare for yourself what you want in life. Declare it as though you have it. The law of mind. There is a law of gravity, and there are several other physical laws, like physics and electricity, most of which I don't understand. There are also spiritual laws, like the law of cause and effect, what you give out comes back. There is also a law of mind. I don't know how it works, in much the same way that I don't know how electricity works. I only know that when I flick the switch, the light comes on. I believe that when we think a thought or when we speak a word or sentence, it somehow goes out from us into a law of mind and comes back to us as experience. We are now beginning to learn the correlation between the mental and the physical. We are beginning to understand how the mind works and that our thoughts are creative. Our thoughts speed through our minds very quickly, so it is difficult to shape them at first. Our mouths on the 21. 22 The power is within you. Other hand, are slower. So if we can start editing our speech by sticking to what we say, and not letting negative things come out of our mouths, then we can begin to shape our thoughts. There is tremendous power in our spoken words, and many of us are not aware just how important they are. Let us consider words as the foundation of what we continually create in our lives. We use words all the time, yet we babble away, seldom thinking about what we are truly saying or how we are saying it. We pay very little attention to the selection of our words. In fact, most of us speak in negatives. As children, we were taught grammar. We were taught to select words according to these rules of grammar. However, I have always found that the rules of grammar continually change, and what was improper at one time is proper at another time, or vice versa. What was slang in the past is considered common usage in the present. However, grammar does not take into consideration the meaning of words and how they affect our lives. On the other hand, I was not taught in school that my choice of words would have anything to do with what I would experience in life. No one taught me that my thoughts were creative, or that they could literally shape my life. Nobody taught me that what I gave out in the form of words would return to me as experiences. The purpose of the Golden Rule was to show us a very basic law of life: do unto others as you would do unto yourself. What you give out comes back to you. It was never meant to cause guilt. No one ever taught me that I was worth loving, or that I deserved good. And nobody taught me that life was here to support me. The power of your spoken word. 23. I remember that as children, we would often call each other cruel and hurtful names and try to belittle one another. But why did we? Where did we learn such behavior? Look at what we were taught. Many of us were told repeatedly by our parents that we were stupid or dumb or lazy. We were a nuisance and not good enough. Sometimes we heard our parents say that they wished we had never been born. Maybe we cringed when we heard these words, but little did we realize how deeply embedded the hurt and pain would become. Changing our self-talk. Too often, we accepted the early messages that our parents gave us. We heard, eat your spinach, clean your room, or make your bed, in order to be loved. You got the idea that you were only acceptable if you did certain things, that acceptance and love were conditional. However, that was according to somebody's idea of what was worthwhile, and had nothing to do with your deep, inner self-worth. You got the idea that you could only exist if you did these things to please others, otherwise you did not have permission to even exist. These early messages contribute to what I call our self-talk, the way we talk to ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves inwardly is really important, because it becomes the basis of our spoken words. It sets up the mental atmosphere in which we operate, and which attracts to us our experiences. If we belittle ourselves, life is going to mean very little to us. If we love and appreciate ourselves, then life can be a wonderful, joyous gift. 24 The power is within you. If our lives are unhappy, or if we are feeling unfulfilled, it's very easy to blame our parents, or them and say it's all their fault. However, if we do, we stay stuck in our conditions, our problems, and our frustrations. Words of blame will not bring us freedom. Remember, there is power in our words. Again, our power comes from taking responsibility for our lives. I know it sounds scary to be responsible for our lives, but we really are, whether we accept it or not. If we want to be responsible for our lives, we've got to be responsible for our mouths. The words and phrases we say are extensions of our thoughts. Start to listen to what you say. If you hear yourself using negative or limiting words, change them. If I hear a negative story, I don't go around repeating it to everyone. I think it has gone far enough, and I let it go. If I hear a positive story, however, I will tell everyone. When you are out with other people, begin to listen to what they say and how they say it. See if you can connect what they say with what they are experiencing in life. Many people live their lives in shoulds. Should is a word that my ear is very attuned to. It is as if a bell goes off every time I hear it. Often, I will hear people use a dozen shoulds in a paragraph. These same people wonder why their lives are so rigid, or why they can't move out of a situation. They want a lot of control over things that they cannot control. They are either making themselves wrong or making someone else wrong. And then they question why they aren't living lives of freedom. The power of your spoken word. 25. We can also remove the expression have to from our vocabulary and our thinking as well. When we do, we will release a lot of self-imposed pressure on ourselves. We create tremendous pressure by saying, I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to. I have to. Instead, let's begin to choose to. I choose to go to work because it pays the rent right now. Choose to puts a whole different perspective on our lives. Everything we do is by choice, even though it may not seem to be so. A lot of us also use the word but. We make statements, then we say but, which heads us in different directions. We give conflicting messages to ourselves. Listen to how you use the word, but the next time you speak. Another expression we need to be mindful of is don't forget. We're so used to saying, don't forget this or that, and what happens? We forget. We really want to remember, and instead we forget, so we can begin to use the phrase please remember in place of don't forget. When you wake up in the morning, do you curse the FAA that you have to go to work? Do you complain about the weather? Do you grumble that your back or head hurts? What is the second thing and the third thing you think or say? Do you yell at the children to get up? Most people say more or less the same thing every morning. How does what you say start your day? Is it positive and cheerful and wonderful? Or is it whining and condemning? If you grumble and complain and moan, you're setting yourself up for such a day. 26. The power is within you. What are your last thoughts before going to bed? Are they powerful healing thoughts or poverty worry thoughts? When I speak of poverty thoughts, I don't only mean about the lack of money. It can be a negative way of thinking about anything in your life, any part of your life that is not flowing freely. Do you worry about tomorrow? Usually, I will read something positive before I go to sleep. I am aware that when I sleep I am doing a lot of clearing that will prepare me for the next day. I find it very helpful to turn over to my dreams any problems or questions I may have. I know my dreams will help me take care of whatever is going on in my life. I am the only person who can think in my mind, just like you are the only person who can think in your mind. Nobody can force us to think in a different way. We choose our thoughts, and these are the basis for our self-talk. As I experienced how this process worked more in my life, I began to live more of what I was teaching others. I really watched my words and my thoughts, and I constantly forgave myself for not being perfect. I allowed myself to be me, rather than struggling to be a super person, who may only be acceptable in others' eyes. When I began for the first time to trust life, and to see it as a friendly place, I lightened up. My humor became less biting and more truly funny. I worked on releasing criticism and judgment of myself and other people, and I stopped telling disaster stories. We are so quick to. The power of your spoken word. 27. Spread bad news. It's just amazing. I stopped reading the newspaper and gave up the 11 o'clock news at night because all the reports were concerned with disaster and violence and very little good news. I realized that most people don't want to hear good news. They love to hear bad news, so they have something to complain about. Too many of us keep recycling the negative stories until we believe that there is only bad in the world. For a while there was a radio station that broadcast only good news. It went out of business. When I had my cancer, I decided to stop gossiping, and to my surprise, I found I had nothing to say to anyone. I became aware that whenever I met a friend, I would immediately dish the latest dirt with them. Eventually, I discovered there were other ways of talking, although it wasn't an easy habit to break. Nonetheless, if I gossiped about other people, then other people probably gossiped about me, because what we give out we get back. As I worked more and more with people, I really gone to listen to what they said. I really began to hear the words, not just get the general drift. Usually, after 10 minutes with a new client, I could tell exactly why they had a problem, because I could hear the words they were using. I could understand them by the way they were talking. I knew that their words were contributing to their problems. If they were talking negatively, imagine what their self-talk was like. It must be more of the same negative programming, poverty thinking, as I called it. A little exercise I suggest you do is to put a tape recorder by your telephone, and every time you make or get a call, push the record button. When the tape is full. 28. The power is within you. On both sides, listen to what you have been saying and how you say it. You will probably be amazed. You will begin to hear the words you use and the inflection of your voice. You will begin to become aware. If you find yourself saying something 3 times or more, write it down because it is a pattern. Some of the patterns may be positive and supportive, and you also may have some very negative patterns that you repeat over and over and over again. The power of the subconscious mind. In light of what I've been speaking of, I want to discuss the power of our subconscious minds. Our subconscious minds make no judgments. The subconscious mind accepts everything we say and creates according to our beliefs. It always says yes. Our subconscious minds love us enough to give us what we declare. We have choice though. If we choose these poverty beliefs and concepts, then it is assumed that we want them. It will continue to give us these things until we are willing to change our thoughts and words and beliefs for the better. We are never stuck because we can always choose again. There are billions and billions of thoughts from which to choose. Our subconscious minds don't know true from false or right from wrong. We don't want to deprecate ourselves in any way. We don't want to say something like, "Oh stupid, old me," because the subconscious mind will pick this self-talk up, and after a while you will feel that way. The power of your spoken word. 29. If you say it enough times, it will become a belief in your subconscious. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor, and it is important for you to know and understand this concept. You cannot make a joke about yourself and think it doesn't mean anything. If it is a put down about yourself, even if you are trying to be cute or funny about it, the subconscious mind accepts it as true. I don't let people tell put down jokes in my workshops. They can be raunchy but not put downs of a nationality or sex or whatever. So don't joke about yourself and make derogatory remarks about yourself, because they will not create good experiences for you. Don't belittle others either. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between you and the other person. It hears the words and it believes you are talking about yourself. The next time you want to criticize someone, ask why you feel that way about yourself. You only see in others what you see in yourself. Instead of criticizing others, praise them, and within a month, you will see enormous change within you. Our words are really a matter of approach and attitude. Notice the way that lonely, unhappy, poor, sick people talk. What words do they use? What have they accepted as the truth for themselves? How do they describe themselves? How do they describe their work, their lives, their relationships? What do they look forward to? Be aware of their words, but please don't run around telling. 30. The power is within you. Strangers that they are ruining their lives by the way they talk. Don't do it to your family and friends either, because the information will not be appreciated. Instead, use this information to begin to make the connection for yourself, and practice it if you //3 for life to change, because even on the smallest level, if you change the way you talk, your experiences are going to change. If you are a person with an illness who believes that it is fatal, and that you are going to die, and that life is no good because nothing ever works for you, then guess what? You can choose to release your negative concept of life. Stand affirmed for yourself that you are a person who is lovable, and you are one healing, and that you attract even thing you need on the physical level to contribute to your healing. Know that you are willing to get well, and that it is safe for you to get well. Many people only feel safe when they are sick. They are usually the kind that have difficult saying the word no. The only you /I/revc *n save ko is by saying I'm too sick to do it. It's PCRRC happy face, excuse. I remember a woman at one of my workshops who had 3 cancer operations. She couldn't say KO to anybody. Her father was a doctor, and she was daddy's good lean la girl, so whatever daddy told her to do, she did. It was impossible for her to say no. No matter what you asked her, she had to say yes. It took 4 days to get her to literally shriek no, at the top of her lungs. I had her do it while shaking her fist. No. 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 Once she got into it, she loved it. I find that many women with breast cancer can't say no. They nourish everybody except themselves. One of the power of your spoken word. 31. The things I recommend to a woman with breast cancer is that she must learn to say, no, I don't want to do it. No. 2 or 3 months of saying no to everything will begin to turn things around. She needs to nourish herself by saying, this is what / want to do, not what you want me to do. When I used to work with clients privately, I would hear them argue on behalf of their limitations, and they would always want me to know why they were stuck because of one reason or another. If we believe we are stuck and accept that we are stuck, then we are stuck. We get stuck because our negative beliefs are being fulfilled. Instead, let's begin to focus on our strengths. Many of you tell me that my tapes saved your lives. I want you to realize that no book or tape is going to save you. A little piece of tape in a plastic box is not saving your life. What you are doing with the information is what matters. I can give you plenty of ideas, yet what you do with them is going to count. I suggest that you listen to a particular tape over and over again for a month or more so that the ideas become a new habit pattern. I'm not your healer or savior. The only person who is going to make a change in your life is you. 32. The power is within you. Now, what are the messages you want to hear? I know. I say this over and over again. And over again.
Loving yourself is the most important thing you can do, because when you love yourself, you are not going to hurt yourself or anyone else. It's the prescription for world peace. If I don't hurt me and I don't hurt you, how can we have war? The more of us who can get to that place, the better the planet will be. Let's begin to be conscious of what is going on by listening to the words we speak to ourselves and others. Then we can begin to make the changes that will help heal ourselves as well as the rest of the planet.
4. Deprogramming old tapes. Be willing to take the first step, no matter how small it is. Concentrate on the fact that you are willing to learn. Absolute miracles will happen. Affirmations do work. Now that we understand a little bit more about how powerful our thoughts and words are, we have to retrain our thinking and speaking into positive patterns if we are go ing to get beneficial results. Are you willing to change your self-talk into positive affirmations? Remember, every time you think a thought and every time you speak a word, you are saying an affirmation. An affirmation is a beginning point. It opens the way to change. In essence, you are saying to your subconscious mind, I am taking responsibility. I am aware that there is something I can do to change. When I talk about do ing affirmations, I mean to consciously choose sentences or words that will either help to eliminate something from your life or help to create something new in your life, and you do this in a positive way. If you say, I don't want. 33. SWMMYM. TXD IGSI, MWER, Dexit Subis Nishia Carat Emerd, IRRs Carat Sick FMRK, Carat RITL Raja Carat E.
To be sick anymore, the subconscious mind hears sick more. You have to tell it clearly what you do want. That is, say, I am feeling wonderfully well, I radiate good health. The subconscious mind is very straightforward. It has no strategy or distress. What it hears is what it does. If you say, I hate this car, it doesn't give you a wonderful new car because it doesn't know what you want. Even if you get a new car, you will probably hate it soon because that is what you have been saying about it. The subconscious only hears hate this car. You need to just clear your desires in a positive way, as in, I have a beautiful new car that suits all my needs. If there is something in your life that you really dislike, I have found one of the quickest ways to release it is to bless it with love. I bless you with love and I release you and let you go. This works for people, situations, objects, and living matters. You could even try it on a habit you would like to be free of and see what happens. I had one man who said, I bless you with love and release you from my life, to every cigarette he smoked. After a few days, his desire for smoking was considerably less, and in a few weeks, the habit was gone. You deserve good. Think for a moment, what is it you really want right now? What is it you want a day in your life? Think about it and then say, I say for myself, whatever it is you want. This is where I find the most of us get stuck. The bottom line is the belief that we don't deserve to have what we want. Our personal power lies in the way we perceive our deservability. Our not deserving comes from childhood messages. Again, we don't have to feel that we cannot change because of these messages. Often times people will come up to me and say, Lewis, affirmations don't work. It really has nothing to do with the affirmations. It is the fact that we don't believe we deserve the good. The way to find out if you believe that you deserve something is to say an affirmation and notice the thoughts that come up as you say it. Then write them down, because when you see them on paper, they will be very clear to you. The only thing that keeps you from deserving or loving yourself or whatever is someone else's belief or opinion that you have accepted as truth. When we don't believe that we deserve good, we will log the pinnings out from under ourselves, which we can do in a variety of ways. We can create chaos, we can lose things, we can hurt ourselves, or have physical problems like falling or have accidents. We have to start believing that we deserve all the good that life has to offer. In order to reprogram the false or negative belief, what would be the first thought that you would need to begin to create this new whatever in your life? What would be the building block or the foundation that you would need to stand on? What would be the sort of thing that you would need to know for yourself, to believe, to accept?
To start with would be /am worthwhile, /am deserving.
I love myself. I allow myself to be fulfilled. These concepts form the very basis of beliefs on which you can build. Do your affirmations on top of these building blocks to create what you want. Whenever I speak somewhere, somebody will come up at the end of the lecture or will write me a letter and tell me that he or she has had a healing take place while he or she was in the room. Sometimes it's very minor and sometimes it's quite dramatic. A woman came to me recently and told me that she had a lump in her breast and it literally disappeared during the lecture. She heard something and she decided to let something go. This is a good example of how powerful we are. When we are not ready to let something go, when we really want to hold on to something because it is serving us in some way, it doesn't matter what we do, it probably won't work. However, when we are ready to let it go, as this woman was, it's amazing how the smallest circumstances can help us to release it. If you still have a habit that you haven't released, ask yourself how it serves you, what you do, what do you get out of it? If you can't get an answer, ask in a different way. If I no longer had this habit, what would happen? Very often the answer is my life would be better. It comes back to the fact that we believe we don't deserve a better life in some way. Ordering from the cosmic kitchen? Oh, when you first say an affirmation, it may not seem true, but remember, affirmations are like planting seeds in the ground. When you put a seed in the ground, you don't get a full grown plant the next day. You need to be patient during the growing season. As you continue to say the affirmation, either you will be ready to release whatever you don't want, and the affirmation will become true, or it will open a new avenue to you. Or you may get a brilliant brainstorm, or a friend may call you and say, have you ever tried this? You will be led to the next step that will help you. Keep your affirmations in the present tense. You can sing them and make a jingle out of them so they repeat over and over in your head. Remember that you cannot affect a specific person's actions with your affirmations. Too often that John is now in love with me is a form of manipulation, and it is trying to have control over another person's life. It will usually have a bomb brains effect on you. You will become very unhappy when you don't get what you want. You can say, I'm now loved by a wonderful man who is, and the list, unless the quality you want in relationship. That way you allow the power within you to bring you the perfect person to fill that bill, who may possibly be John. You don't know what another person's spiritual lesson is, and you don't have a right to interfere in their life process. You certainly wouldn't want someone else doing it to you. If someone is ill, bless them and send them love and peace. Don't demand that they get well. I like to think of doing affirmations as placing our order in the cosmic kitchen. If you go to a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress comes and takes your order, you don't follow them into the kitchen to see if the chef got the order or how he is going to prepare the food. You sit and drink your water or coffee or tea, or you talk to your friend and maybe eat your roll. You assume that your food is being prepared and you will be out when it is ready. And it's the same when we begin to do affirmations. When we put our order into the cosmic kitchen, the great chef, our higher power, is working on it. So you go on with your life and know it is being taken care of. it's on order, it's happening. Now if the food comes out and it doesn't what you order, and if you have self-esteem, you will send it back. If not, you will eat it. You also have a right to do that with the cosmic kitchen. If you don't get exactly what you want, you can say no, that's not quite it. This is what I want. Perhaps you weren't clear in your ordering. The idea here too is to let go. At the end of my treatments and meditations, I use the words, and so it is. It is a way of saying, higher power, it's in your hands. Now I release it to you. A spiritual mind treatment, which is taught by the science of mind, is very effective. You can obtain more information about it through your local religious science church or through books by Ernst Holmes. Reprogramming the subconscious mind. The thoughts we think accumulate, and when we are unaware, the old thought resurfaces. When we are reprogramming our mind, it's normal and natural that we go a little forward, we come a little back, we go a little forward again. It's a part of practicing. I don't think there is any new skill that you can learn absolutely 100% in the first 20 minutes. Do you remember when you first learned how to use a computer? How frustrating it was. It took practice. You had to learn how it worked, to learn its laws and systems. I called my first computer my magic lady, for when I mastered her rules, she did indeed deliver what seemed like magic to me. Yet while I was learning the way she would teach me, I was off track or going in the wrong direction, was to devour pages of work that I would then have to do over again. Out of all the mistakes, I learned how to flow with the system. To flow with the system of life, you want to become aware that your subconscious mind is like a computer. Garbage in, garbage out. If you put negative thoughts in, the negative experience come out. Yes, it takes time and practice to learn the new way of thinking. Be patient with yourself when you are learning something new and the old pattern returns. Are you going to say, oh, I didn't learn anything? Or are you going to say, okay, that's alright, come on, let's do it again, the new way? Or say you cleared an issue and think you'll never have to deal with it again. How do you know if you have really worked it through unless you test yourself? So you bring up the old situation one more time and watch how you react. If you jump right back into the old way of reacting to it, then you know you haven't really learned that particular lesson and you need to do more work on it. That's all it means. You have to realize it's a little test to see how far you have come. If you begin to repeat your affirmations, the new statements of truth about yourself, you give yourself an opportunity to react differently. Whether it's a health problem, a financial one, or a relationship difficulty, if you react in a new way to the situation, then you are on your way to having another issue handled. You can move on to other areas. Remember too that we work on layers at a time. You can reach a plateau and think, I have done it, and then some old issue resurfaces and you injure yourself or get sick and you don't get better for some time. Look to see what the underlying beliefs are. It may mean you have some more work to do because you are going to the next deeper layer. Don't feel that you are not good enough because something you have worked to clear comes up again. When I discovered that I was not a bad person because once again I was facing an old issue, it became much easier for me to keep going. I learned to say myself, Lewis, you are doing very well. Look how far you have come. You just need more practice and I love you. I believe each one of us decides to incarnate upon this planet at particular points in time and space. We have chosen to come here to learn a particular lesson that will advance us on our spiritual evolutionary pathway. One of the ways to allow the process of life to unfold for you in a positive, healthy way is to declare your own personal truth. truths. Choose to move away from the limiting beliefs that I have been denying you the benefits you so desire. Declare that your negative thought patterns will be erased from your mind. Let go of your fears and burdens. For a long time now, I have been believing the following ideas, and they have worked for me. Everything I need to know is revealed to me. Everything I need comes to me in the perfect time space sequence. Life is a joy and filled with love. I am loving and lovable and loved. I am healthy and filled with energy. I prosper whenever I return, wherever I turn. I am willing to change and to grow, and all is well in my world. I have learned that we don't always stay positive 100% of the time, and I include myself in this knowledge. As much as possible, I see life as a wonderful, joyous experience. I believe that I am safe. I have made it a personal law for me. I believe that everything I need to know is revealed to me, so I need to keep my eyes and ears open. When I had that when cancer, I remember thinking that food reflexologists would be very helpful for me. One evening I went to a lecture of some sort. Usually I sit in the front row because I like being close to speaker. However, that might was compelled to sit in the back row. Right after I sat down,
Sit in the back row. Right after I sat down, a foot reflexologist sat next to me. We began to talk and I learned that he even made house calls. I didn't have to look for him, he came to me. I also believe that whatever I need comes to me in the perfect time-space sequence. When something goes wrong in my life, I immediately start to think, all is well, it's okay, I know that this is all right. It's a lesson, an experience, and I'll pass through it. There is something here that is for my highest good. All is well. Just breathe. It's okay. I do the best I can to calm myself, so I can think rationally about whatever is going on, and, of course, I do work through everything. It may take a little time, but sometimes, things that seem to be great disasters really turn out to be quite good in the end, or at least, not the disasters that they seem to be in the beginning. Every event is a learning experience. I do a lot of positive self-talk, morning, noon and night. I come from a loving space of the heart, and I practice loving myself and others as much as I possibly can. Reprogramming old tapes 43. My love expands all the time. What I do today is much more than what I was doing 6 months or a year ago. I know a year from now my consciousness and my heart will have expanded, and I'll be doing more. I know that what I believe about myself becomes true for me, so I choose to believe wonderful things about myself. There was a time when I didn't, so I know I have grown and I continue to work on myself. I also believe in meditation. To me, meditation is when we sit down and turn off our inner dialogue long enough to hear our own wisdom. When I meditate, I usually close my eyes, take a deep breath and ask, what is it I need to know? I sit and listen. I might also ask, what is it I need to learn, or what is the lesson in this? Sometimes, we think we're supposed to /X everything in our lives, and maybe we're really only supposed to learn something from the situation. When I first began to meditate, I had violent headaches the first 3 weeks. Meditation was so unfamiliar, and against all my usual inner programming. Nevertheless, I hung in there, and the headaches eventually disappeared. If you are constantly coming up with a tremendous amount of negativity when you meditate, it may mean that it needs to come up, and when you quiet yourself, it starts to flow to the surface. Simply see the negativity being released. Try not to fight it. Allow it to continue as long as it needs to. If you fall asleep when you meditate, that's all right. Let the body do what it needs to do, it will balance out in time. 44. The power is within you. Reprogramming your negative beliefs is very powerful. A good way to do it is by making a tape with your own voice saying your affirmations. Play it as you go to sleep. It'll have a great deal of value for you, because you will be listening to your and voice. And even more pow tape will be your mother's voice telling you how wonderful you are, and how much she loves you. Once you have the tape, it's good to relax the body before you begin reprogramming. Some people like to start from the tips of their toes and move up to the top of their head, tensing and relaxing. However you do it, release the tension. Let the emotions go. Get to a state of openness and receptivity. The more relaxed you are, the easier it is to receive the new information. Remember, you are always in charge, and you are always safe. It is wonderful to listen to tapes or read self-awareness books and do your affirmations. But, what are you do? ing for the other 23 hours and 30 minutes of the day? You. See, that is what really matters. If you sit down and meditate, and then get up and rush to work and scream at someone, that counts too. Meditation and affirmations are wonderful, yet the other times are just as important. Treat doubt as a friendly reminder. I am often asked questions about whether people are do ing affirmations correctly, or whether they are even work. Reprogramming old tapes 45. ing. I'd like you to think of doubt a little differently than you may have been. I believe that the subconscious mind resides in the solar plexus area of the body, where you carry those gut feelings. When something sudden happens, don't you immediately get a strong feeling in your gut? It is where you take everything in and store it. Ever since we were little children, every message we have received, everything we have done, all the experiences we have had, all that we have said, have all gone into the filing cabinet right there in the solar plexus area. I like to think that there are little messengers in there, and when we think thoughts, or have experiences, the MES sages go in, and the messengers file them in the appropriate files. For many of us, we have been building up files labeled, VM not good enough. VLL never make it. I don't do it right. We have gotten absolutely buried under these files. Suddenly we do affirmations such as /M wonder. Full and I love myself. The messengers pick them up and say, what's this, carrot? Where does it go? We've never seen this one before. So the messengers called out. Doubt. Come over here and see what's going on. So doubt picks up the message and asks the conscious mind, what's this? You have always been saying these other things. On a conscious level, we can react in two ways. We can say, oh, you're right, I'm terrible. I'm no good. I'm sorry. That's not the right message, and go back to our old ways. Or we can say to doubt, that was the old message. I have no need for it now. This is the new message. Tell doubt to start a new file, because there will be lots of these loving messages coming through from now on. Learn to treat doubt as a friend, not the enemy, and thank it for questioning you. 46. The power is within you. It doesn't matter what you do in this world. It doesn't matter if you are a bank president, or a dishwasher, a housewife, or a sailor. You have wisdom inside of you that is connected to universal truth. When you are willing to look within and ask a simple question such as, what is this experience trying to teach me? And if you are ing to listen, then you will have the answer. Most of us are so busy running around creating the soap opera and drama we call our lives that we don't hear anything. Don't give your power over to other people's pictures of right and wrong. They only have power over us when we give our power to them. Groups of people give their power over to others. It happens in a lot of cultures. Women in our culture give their power to men. They say things like, my husband won't allow me to. Well, that's certainly giving your power away. If you believe it, you box yourself into a place where you can't do anything unless you are given permission by another person. The more open-minded you are, the more you learn, and the more you can grow and change. A woman once shared with me that when she got married she was very unassertive, because that was the way she was brought up. It took years for her to realize that her conditioning kept her locked in a corner. She blamed everyone, her husband and her in-laws, for her problems. Eventually, she divorced her husband. However, she still blamed him for so many things that were not right in her life. It took her 10 years to relearn her patterns and reprogramming old tapes. 47. To take her power back. In hindsight, she realized that she was responsible for not speaking up and for not standing up for herself, not her husband or her in-laws. They were there to reflect back to her what she felt inside. A sense of powerlessness. Don't give your power away based on what you read either. I remember years ago I read some articles in a well-known magazine, and I happened to know something about each subject described in the articles. In my opinion, the information was totally erroneous. The magazine lost all credibility for me, and I didn't read it again for many years. You are the authority in your life, so don't think that because something is in print that it's always the truth. Inspirational speaker Terry Cole Whitaker wrote a wonderful book called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. It's true. What you think of me is none of my business, it's your business. In the end, what you think of me is going out from you in vibrations and will come back. When we have illumination, when we become conscious of what we are doing, we can begin to change our lives. Life is really here for you. You need only ask. Tell life what you want, and then allow the good to happen. Part 2. Dissolving the barriers. Want to know what is going on inside us, so we can know what to let go. Instead of hiding our pain, we can release it totally. Chapter 5. Understanding the blocks that bind you. Chronic patterns of self-hate, guilt, and self-criticism raise the body's stress levels and weaken the immune system. Now that we understand a little more about the power that we have within us, let's take a look at what keeps us from using it. I think that almost all of us have barriers of some kind or another. Even when we do a lot of work on ourselves and clear out the blocks, new layers of old barriers still keep coming up. Many of us feel so flawed that we believe that we are not good enough and never will be. And if we find something wrong with us, then we are going to find something wrong with other people as well. If we are still ing to say, I can't do this because my mother said, or my father said, then we have not yet grown up. So now you want to let your barriers go, and perhaps learn something different that you didn't know before now. Perhaps one sentence here will trigger a new thought. Can you imagine how wonderful it would be if every day you learned a new idea that would help you let go of the past and create harmony in your life? When you become aware and understand the individual process of life. 51. 52. The power is within you. You will know what direction to take. If you put your energies into learning about yourself, you will eventually see those problems and issues that you need to dissolve. We all have challenges in life. Everybody does. Nobody goes through life without them, otherwise, what would be the purpose of coming to this particular school called Earth? For some, there are health challenges, and for other people there are relationship challenges, or career or financial challenges. Some have a little or a lot of everything. I think one of our biggest problems is that most of us haven't the faintest idea of what it is we want to let go. We know what is not working and we know what we want in our life, yet we don't know what's holding us back. So let's take this time to look at the blocks that bind us. If you think for a moment about your own patterns and problems, and the things that hold you back, which categories do they fall into?